and welcome. My name is Jeanette Hinton and I'm producer for Programme and Artist Development here at Pavilion Dance Southwest. I say here, of course, I'm sat in my dining room at the moment. Sadly, we're not in our building as yet, but it is my very great pleasure to introduce our official company and resident artist for 2020 to 21. And this is Ella Mesma. Welcome, Ella.
Hello, thank you. Thanks so much, PDSW.
It's lovely to see you, Ella, albeit remotely. I thought we'd take this opportunity just to introduce you to everyone and the context in which you're working. So to kick us off, I know that you came to dance relatively late. So I wondered if you could just say some words about your artistic journey to date.
Sure. So, my kind of coming to dance late journey started with Brazilian dance. So I went to a friend's Brazilian family took us quite young, I think we were 14, to an event they were holding, a party they were holding, and I got to see samba dances, which at the time I was super shy and thought I would never ever do. But I also got to experience salsa, which by the way is not Brazilian, but happened to be happening in the same space. And I started to dance salsa. I ended up teaching that to some young people in my school, and kind of really had this love for salsa, love for Latin dance, and love for Brazilian music, actually. Then I went to a politics and sociology degree in Leeds University. I went to study politics and sociology at Leeds University, and it was there that I kind of really started to get gigs, to get work doing samba, doing salsa, and I also joined a society, the Contemporary Dance Society. Still never imagining that I would, not follow the path that I'd been told from young I was going to do and have a career. But after university, I started getting paid kind of work, doing salsa shows, doing samba shows, and I also apprenticed with M&M, which was Mervyn Jones, the director of Phoenix. It was his company, and I auditioned and got in as an apprentice for the company. So kind of began my contemporary dance journey, very, very unflexible, very late on, but very excitedly after university. And then after that finished, I really decided that, what I wanted was a career in dance. And I was working in Birmingham at the time I was doing a kind of education, kind of administration job for Birmingham Royal Ballet. And the director of education, Pearl Chesterman, said to me one day, "Ella, you're a dancer and you need to go to dance school." And, floods of tears of like acknowledging this thing that had been my whole life. So even when I was a kid, I used to draw dances, but I was always too shy to do it. So eventually I kind of realized that what I needed to do was save up a hell of a lot of money and go back to university. So that kind of began. I saved and saved and saved. I had jobs in Birmingham and jobs in Leeds. And I managed to get together enough money to go. I started at Laban. I did 1 year part-time at Laban and then actually auditioned for the place and got in. So I moved over to the place, which felt more like, the right conservatoire for me. Completed my training there and eventually turned that into an MA. But yeah, I had a really intense and immense kind of fast-track journey through dance. I also, when I moved to Birmingham, I took up breaking, so I had this kind of quite a vast range of dance styles. So Latin dances, breaking or break dance, and contemporary dance.
Great. So that's a really interesting journey because it's not the cliche of your mum taking you to the dance school when you're 3 or 4, which is what we hear about all the time. It was almost like you discovered it for yourself, with your friends, and clearly it ignited something inside you that's had to be fulfilled, and not one conservatoire but two. So again, you know, strength of character, that you realise that one particular training perhaps wasn't for you, and you completed your training at the second conservatoire. So you went on to work as a professional dancer, and I know that you founded your company in 2011. What was that moment like? Because that's usually with an artist, that's quite a moment. That's sticking your flag post in the ground, saying, "This is me. This is my company. This is my work." Was that a scary decision, or did it evolve naturally? How did that go?
I would say it evolved quite naturally, but it took having kind of people encouraging me. So in 2011, I performed my first solo. But the reason I performed my first solo again was this encouragement. So I made this kind of scratch performance at one of John ZD's Back to the Labs, and he told me there was something in it and that they wanted to help me to get funding. So you know, with a lot of mentoring, we put together this first funding bid, and so that was kind of the birth of the company, was this first solo. And then it was in 2014 that I had another, a woman called Natalie Teitler, who's been an amazing mentor for me. She kind of, you know, said we need to have a meeting, and basically said we need to do more stuff. You know, I'd made another solo, I'd got another funding bid in over that time, but I'd been doing a lot of kind of work for other companies, and she said, now it's time for you to make another piece. And it was her that helped me with this funding bid, and that was where we really kind of, Ella Mesma Company was officially born. You know, we kind of got our Instagram and our Twitter and, you know, all of those kind of handles, and we just started to really see that actually, yeah, it's time to build this company and time to really go for it. And I think it does take that person telling you they believe in you sometimes to really give you the confidence to go for it.
Yeah, so outside eyes, very important to an artist. So company residence, what does that mean? So we had an open application call in January, that well before COVID. We had 19 applications, all of which were very strong, and it was a very difficult decision. But with your application, I have to say that your embodiment of our values is absolutely right there. Generous, passionate, inclusive, inspiring, the personification of your work, of those values, and looking at your work on screen, because of course we couldn't see it live, the energy coming off the stage was just incredible. So we're very, very happy that you're with us for this year. What we're going to be doing is we're giving you some money, which is always useful in these times. You're going to be coming into our studios, fingers crossed, a little bit later this year to do some work. And of course, you have the support of the team for a whole year. I guess what would be interesting to know is how you see your work and your practice developing with this residency.
Yes, and thank you so much. It's really exciting. And of course, when we applied, it was a whole different time. So I kind of imagined that we would be bringing in, we were working on a piece called Foreign Bodies, an underwater love story. And the plan was to tour that in kind of the autumn of 2020. So we had applied to come in and to rehearse and then take this show off on the road. But we're looking at very different times now. So there will definitely be an evolution of my journey and of the company's journey in this time. I think it's about being very adaptable, being very flexible, being very open to how can we work. You know, if we can't put in an Arts Council bid, for example, then we have to be very clever with this creation of a new piece. So what I've decided to do is to work on a solo, because obviously we just
it's just a sensible choice at the moment.
Yeah, and I will still use the time to do some of the kind of the technology side of Foreign Bodies. So in Foreign Bodies, we have each audience member has a remote control, which is actually a hospital bed remote control, kind of a comment on many things. You'll have to see the piece one day, guys. but so I will be working on that side of the technology, and then also seeing if we can turn one character into an avatar. So I will use some of the time to look at more of that side of things. But then this solo will be reworking and finishing of a piece called Papillon, which it was Papillon but spelled Papyllon. So it was inspired by papyrus, by the paper, because it was really about history, her story, and kind of, you know, identity. So I use a huge white silks, and it kind of reaches all the way to the front of the stage. And the first section, the first scene, I know that I'm going to stay on the silks the whole time, but on the floor, you know, wrapping myself up. What do you reveal? What do you hide? How do we look at our identity by fabric? The next section, I will climb the silks. So another thing we've been looking at is maybe I buy a rig, because, you know, maybe the piece will have to be performed outside, actually, because in COVID times, maybe we don't perform in theatres anymore, who knows? So being very open to that, and that's why I felt like this could be quite a good piece to tour. And then really what I want to work on is this finale, the last scene, because I never had time to really work on that with the previous version, which was actually a duet with an amazing poet from South Africa called Tony Stewart. I really hope that somehow across all time and space we can be connected, and she can kind of be with us in the studio. So we'll have to see if that's a possibility. But yeah, so I think that's the plan.
Great, and what exciting plans they are. So you've mentioned about obviously the situation at the moment with coronavirus and the impact on your work. I wonder whether we should mention to everyone about the Getting Better box.
Yeah, let's tell them about the Getting Better box. Awesome. So the Getting Better box came out of coronavirus. You know, it was definitely the kind of, well, how can I help? What can I offer? And when I was a kid, you know, really young, like 4, my mum used to have this Getting Better box that she would only bring out when we were ill. And it was the most exciting thing to have this treat, this toy that you could only play with when you were ill. It made being ill worth baking. And so inside the box, there were just some random things like a cotton reel, some worry dolls, which are these kind of little dolls that you tell your worries and they take the worries away. Paper clips, colourful paper clips, which I had a real, you know, I just thought were the best thing ever as a kid. It's the small things.
Love a bit of stationery myself.
Yeah. So the Getting Better box, this version now is kind of like a resource, an online resource offering and connecting dots. So, you know, it might be lots of meditation. So many different artists have sent in things. We've got a meditation section. We have a poetry section. We have online classes, and lots of those are listing lots of different classes. We have a section about finances and funding. But it's also evolved a lot now because, you know, we've had some really horrendous things happen whilst we've been in lockdown. For example, the murder of George Floyd. And so out of that, we also made this kind of anti-racism section about how do you educate yourself? How do we, you know, what reading materials are out there? What else can people do? And then we've had another kind of movement within the hip hop community, which is almost like a Me Too movement happening. So we've kind of evolved into this idea of how can we offer things to get better to the community? How can we offer and provide services? And I've been kind of building it with a website designer, feeling very excited about it. But for now, it's on my site as a space to access resources.
Fabulous. So the Getting Better box and all sorts of tasty treats are on Ella's website, which you can access via the supporting artist page. So there's trailers of work, as well as the Getting Better box, online classes that you're out offering, yoga too. So yes, go and check it out. But I'm going to wrap this up and say thank you very much, Ella, for joining me today for this discussion.
Thanks so much, Jeanette. It's been lovely to be here.
Yeah, I just look forward to meeting you in person, hopefully later this year.
I cannot wait. Yeah, fingers crossed it will be soon. And
Fingers
thank you
crossed.
to PDSW as well.
Yes, fingers crossed it will be. Thank you very much, Ella. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.